All right, good evening, guys. While we are waiting for others to join in, I'm going to start my class. I already shared my screen. I hope all of you can see my screen. Today we will continue with chapter 3 as we have completed chapter 1 and chapter 2. Today I will go ahead with chapter 3. The title for today is Information Systems, Organization and Strategy. So what are the learning objectives for this topic? The first learning objective is identify and describe important features of organization that managers including middle management team need to know about in order to build and use information system successfully. So looks like this learning objective is more focused on managers, people like you, middle managers, line managers, operational managers, where you need to know how to build and use information system successfully in your daily tasks. The next objective is to demonstrate how Porter's competitive forces model, which we have seen and discussed this in the last lecture, helps companies develop competitive strategies using information system. So we're going to look at how information system helps by using Porter's competitive forces model. The next objective that we have to cover for today is in order to explain how the value chain and value web models, more focus on value chain and value web models, help businesses identify opportunities for strategic information system application. So the focus here is on strategic information system application. All right, then we're going to continue with two more learning objectives for these chapters. Demonstrate how information system help businesses use synergies, core competencies, and network-based strategies to achieve competitive advantage. The last but not least learning objective for this chapter is to assess the challenges posed by strategic information system and management solution. So again, there is a long list of slides. I will try my best to cover all. I may need to skip one or two in order to meet the time. So with that, if there is no further question from the members, let me start with a case study, a very simple case study that we can discuss shortly, or we can discuss again during our open discussion session in the second part of the lectures today. So the problem here is related to eBay fine-tunes its strategy. I am very sure all of you are aware of this company, eBay, and how eBay fine-tunes its strategies using information system or MIS. So the problem faced by eBay was losing market share to other online retailers, ultra competitive and constantly changing marketplace. Just give me a minute, there is a message. Okay, the problem was with the eBay fine-tunes, its strategy was due to where eBay was losing market share to other online retailers due to ultra competitive and constantly changing marketplace. So that was the problem. So what eBay did, making use of MIS system to acquire other businesses and adjust its business model to maintain online and to be dominant online. So that was one of the steps or solution taken by eBay in order to overcome this issue, or rather than problem. Yeah. Next, what they did was purchase of PayPal. Deal with Buy.com allowed eBay to grow and diversify its businesses or its business. So that was another action taken by eBay in order to overcome this problem, where they purchased a PayPal, which is a payment mechanism, very popular, reliable payment mechanism, and also they deal with Buy.com. So that's how they expanded their operation, their business, so that they can stay competitive with other online retailers. Also, what they did was demonstrate IT role in the development of eBay organization as it expands and makes acquisition. So they really make use of MIS system in developing the eBay. Yeah, in developing the eBay within the organization. Continue with that, they also illustrate the challenges of maintaining a competitive advantage in fast-moving and constantly changing marketplace. So these were some of the action taken by eBay in order to overcome this problem. So in a similar way, that what you can do is, when you have identified a company with a problem such as this, for example, losing market shares to other online retailers, where the competition is very high, very steep, and constantly changing marketplace, some of these solution can be applied as well. And the focus here should be how we can make use of MIS systems and its features and its application in order to provide solution for the problems. So with that, let me continue with the lectures for today. That is how information technology influence the organization one another. Reason, there is a very complex relationship between organization. As you can see, every organization is very complex. It has a complex relationship within the structure, business processes, politics, culture, people, environment, and also the decision being made by the people within the organization, right? So that is where the information technology will be playing a very important role in helping the organization in many areas to overcome the problems. So what we can see in the next slide is a chart which shows the two-way relationship between organization and the information technology. So on your right hand side is where the information technology is, or in other words, we used to call it management information system, and on your left hand side is the organization. So between these two, there is a very strong relationship between organization and information technology in terms of environment, in terms of culture, structure, business processes, politics, in making management decision. And do remember, I did highlight some of other factors such as people, which is also can be part of the environment and culture, promotion, product, which can be the important factors for the company, services, if it is a services based company, if you are not producing any product, but if you are a service based company, then services are part of it. Promotion, campaign, location of the company, yeah. So all those factors are very important factors which has a very close relationship with MIS system, yeah, with MIS system. So that is what the slide here sharing the details of how is the relationship between the organization and the MIS system. So before moving further, let's take a look what is an organization, and they have given us in two different scope. One is known as a technical definition, and the other definition is in terms of behavioral. Yeah. So let's take a look at technical definition. What is an organization? So in terms of technical definition, organization means it's supposed to be stable, which has a formal social structure that takes resources from environment and processes them to produce output. Yeah, so as what we have discussed last week in our previous lectures, MIS system is all about taking in input, processing it in order to generate output. So this definition is quite aligned with that, where you have a stable organization, company, entities, where you have a formal social structure, people, environment, that takes resources. So the resources can be such as people, materials, yeah, asset of the companies, from the environment, from the company, from the organization, and processes them into producing output. So output in this case can be a product, also can be a services. So it depends to the nature of the business. It is also known as a formal legal entity with internal rules and procedures as well as social structure. So this is also another technical definition given for an organization. A formal legal entity, of course the company will be registered under a name, yeah, which is known as a legal entity with internal rules and procedures as well as social structure. So these are the two terms for what is an organization under the scope of technical definition. So let's move on to look at the other definition under behavioral: a collection of rights, privileges, obligation, and responsibilities that is delicately balanced over a period of time through conflict and conflict resolution. So this doesn't really sound technical, but it is more to behavioral, where it says a collection of rights. It could be a people rights, consumer rights, customer rights, and so on. Privileges, obligation, and responsibilities of everyone involved, yeah, over a period of time through conflict and conflict resolution. So this is also can be considered as a okay. Give me a minute. And there is a slide. I don't know why some of them are not getting the slide. I already shared my screen. Oh, okay, it got disconnected. Sorry, it got disconnected. So let me share again. Okay, I hope, yep. Okay, I hope now all of you can see. All right. Okay, please stop me if you cannot see or if there is interruption. So these are the two technical definitions for what is an organization, with one behavioral definition on what is organization. So with that, let me move on to the next slide. The two definitions are being displayed in the form of infographic or in a graphical format, as what we used to discuss, where you can see there is an input from the environment going into as an input into the organization, and the organization itself will have a production process, or what we call set of activities or processes, steps, and these processes, steps are responsible in generating the output to the environment, to the company. And it all depends on the quality of the output. For example, if the quality is good, we accept it. If the quality is with some defects or not as per expectation, normally what we do, we send for correction, or we send for remaking. So it depends on the quality of the output expectation. So in the microeconomic of definition of an organization, capital and labor, which are very considered as a primary production factors, are transformed by the firm through production process into product and services. So as you can see on the diagram, this is what is happening. The product and services are consumed by the environment, which supplies additional capital and labor as input in the feedback loop. So that is the whole process of technical microeconomic definition of the organization. Whereas the behavioral view of organization, beside the technical definition, where we look at the environment resources as an input, and then we have the formal organization. The formal organization, where it consists of structure and process, and under the structure we have factors like it could be the hierarchical structure of the organization. There might be a division of labor meaning people, rules and procedures, processes, business processes, culture. As you all are aware, different company might have different culture. So these are part of the structures for the formal organization. And for the processes, you might have like certain rights and obligation, procedures, privileges and responsibilities, values, norms, as well as people in performing the processes or responsible for the processes in generating the environmental output. So both, if you look at the technical definition and behavioral definition, both are responsible in generating output. Just matter of one making use of the MI system heavily in order to generate the output, and one very much depending on the structure and process within the organization, within the formal organization, in generating the output. So these are the two definitions that you can elaborate as per your understanding for the technical and behavioral definition of an organization. Moving on, what I'm going to discuss or share with all of you is what are the features of organization. We're going to look at modern organization that we have today. Reason it will be more practical if you look at the modern organization that we are dealing with today, rather than before the pandemic or even older organization which have transformed, or migrated into adopting new features, such as where use of hierarchical structure, and it has to be accountable, or accountability is an important key factors for the organization. Authority in system, especially in decision making, in making sure everyone is performing efficiently, So efficiency is the key factor. And other features of the organization include routines and business processes, organizational politics, culture, environment, and structures. So if you look into any organization, in any modern organization that today that exists, first of all, the first thing that you will be introduced is the organization chart, or what we call hierarchical structure. And then who is responsible for what, their roles and position. And then the roles and position comes with the authority in the system, right? In making decision. For example, who are the top management, middle management, and so on. You will be introduced with that management team, or middle management, or line managers, operational managers, and so on. And then how is or was the performance of the company, what is expected, what is the plan, short-term plan, middle term, and long-term plans. So that is basically to relate to the efficiency or performance of the company. Plus, moving onward, when you are involved in your own very specific department or areas, then you will be introduced to what is your job, your routine, your business processes that you are responsible for, what kind of company culture is, the environment of the company, other structures that you need to know, as well as every company there will be some what we call office politics or organizational politics that you will become familiar as you move on. So these are what we call the features of any organization, and more or less all organizations are quite similar, there are similarities when you compare. Definitely things are slightly different when you compare physical based organization with online, but in general they are the same. The features of the organization are the same. To continue on the routines and business processes, as what we have discussed last week, routine means, as we all understand, standard operating procedures, SOP, which most of the time will be written as a policy or SOP that you need to read, understand, and apply or practice. And what these routines are consist of, as we all know, is basically some precise rules, procedures, and practices developed based on experience within the company to cope with virtually all expected situation. Either it is a day-to-day works or weekly or monthly planned kind of activities. When it comes to a routine process or routine job, you apply the same following the SOP, and this is important so that our objective is to maintain the quality, the quality of the product or the services. So by following the SOP, the quality of the service or product will be maintained. So that is very important. Next is business processes. As we understand, it very much depends on the nature of the business. Basically, it is a collection of routines. So when you have routine job, day to day, week by week, and so on, when you collect all these and you combine and you call it business processes, which is also sometimes we call it business practice, or activities or steps in providing services, or even in generating the output. So basically we call all that as a business processes. Whereas what is business firm is a collection of business processes. Business firm is a term that they use in order to highlight or in order to identify collection of business processes. So you might have more than one businesses. So when you do the collection within all these businesses, and then you call it as a business firm, basically it reflects collection of business processes within that organization. So any organization can have routine and business processes, and end of the day it becomes a business firm. Yeah, that is the whole idea. Okay, give me a minute. Let me check the minutes meeting if anyone is having any difficulties. Looks like no. And if there is any question or chat, yeah, please drop it here. I will pick it up. Okay, let me continue with my lectures. I hope all of you can see my slide as usual. Moving on to the next slide, which is again information about what we have discussed just recently about routine, business processes, and firms. So if you look at the slide here, the individual routines consist of many business processes, and end of the day, when you complete all these business processes, either following in a certain sequence or in a certain procedures or steps, what you have is actually what we call a business firm. Yeah, business firm is actually a collection of business processes, and end of the day we call it business firm, or sometimes it also can be the what we call business secret. Yeah, secret, that means the recipe of the businesses in generating the output. So all organizations are composed of what we call individual routines and behaviors, and a collection of that is what makes the business processes. And like what we have just covered, a collection of business processes make up the business firm. New information system application, any new business information system apps or management information system require that individual routine and business processes change in order to achieve higher level of organization performance. So normally what we will do, let's say we have an existing system, or what we call current system, or system running presently at any particular organization, and let's say this system has been running for quite some times, and in order to improve the productivity, or in order to improve the performance, or in order to improve the revenue, the normal decision making or action will be taken by the management team is to upgrade. Is to upgrade the system, to upgrade the MI system in terms of many ways. Either we can upgrade in terms of infrastructure, we can upgrade in terms of performance, in terms of security, in terms of to increase the output. So it again depends what is the upgrade for, or the objective of the upgrade, or to make the system even to work faster and to produce output in a shorter period of time, for example. So it depends on the purpose of upgrade, or the purpose of upgrading the MI system to meet the company objective. So that is if we need to increase the revenue or performance, or even the amount of, for example, production output, then we have to consider about upgrading the MIS system as one of the important factor. Beside, of course, there will be other factors also involved. As all of you are familiar, the people need to be sent for training, either internal training or sometimes it requires to send for external training. And then there will be other changes also will be affected. For example, you need to train the suppliers, the people, the vendors, reason you are upgrading your system, and if you don't inform your vendors or your suppliers, then they also will be affected. Maybe the reports need to be changed. So every time you do an upgrade to a system, it's actually there is a chain effect to the entire organization. Sometimes the reports need to be changed, the way the people need to perform the new tasks need to be changed. So training comes in, or maybe you need to hire more people, or maybe you need to set up a new department. So there will be a lot of changes, a lot of impact in terms of changes that taking place to the MIS system. A quick look at what is organizational politics, or sometimes what we call office politics. Office politics is actually a divergent viewpoints lead to political struggle, competition, and conflict. That is what we call organizational politics. Or political resistance greatly hampers organizational change. Not everyone in the company will be involved in this. What I mean is directly involved in this, maybe indirectly, but most of the time the top management or the senior management will be directly involved in this, and they also do have impact on the on this aspect. Not so much related to the MIS system, but it is more to the organization, just for your information. So we really don't have to worry much about this. Every company, as we know, there will be some office politics, some level of office politics or organizational politics, but it's not part of the MIS system. A quick look at organizational culture, which I'm very sure all of you are quite familiar with. A set of assumptions that define goal and product. Set of assumptions that define goal and product. What product the organization should produce, how and where it should be produced, for whom the product should be produced. So when you work for a company, I'm very sure you will be briefed and you will be part of it in involving yourself in producing or in making the products for that particular organization, either directly or indirectly. Again, it depends on which department you are belong to, and how and where it should be produced also will be briefed, either on real-time basis or online basis, or the output will be maybe like what I mentioned in the very first class. Like semiconductor products, it takes 30 to 45 days to produce the output, and anything can happen along the way. If any defect takes place along the way, then we have to just scrap it and start all over again. So it's very much depend on the product. And as you all know, today's product having a very short time to market, that is the goal of any organization. So it can be any time within 3 months to 6 months or even shorter, right? So the earlier the better. And of course, customers or consumers are expecting for any company to produce a product like yesterday, even though it is not really practical, but that is the expectation from the consumer. For whom the product should be produced is again very much depending on the nature of the business, as well as who are your or the company customers. Sometimes we do make products and we export to overseas. Some companies do make product and for local market. So it all depends again to that particular organization. So there will be some what we call powerful unifying force, yeah, in making the in making so-called against the change. Nobody likes the change, but sometimes we have no choice. We have to do changes. We have to make adaptation to survive. Yeah, to survive, like what happened before the pandemic and after the pandemic. Many companies close down their business. Reason they unable to change, or they cannot afford to change, or they refuse to change, and due to that they have no other choice but will be wiped out from the environment, from the market. So it's all very much depending on the organizational culture, whether the people that you have, the society that you have, the employees that you have within your companies, uh, are they willing to change? Are they ready to change? Are they willing to be trained, to accept new changes, new responsibilities, in other words, new ways of doing things, so that you can survive longer or further. Yeah. So again, the culture of the company is very important, in order to survive. Okay, before we take a short break, let me cover another one slide or two. Then we will take a short break as usual, and then I will see you again after the 10 minutes or 15 minutes break to continue further. And if there is any question, as usual, please highlight or please drop in the chat box so that I can take a look and get back to you. Next, I'm going to continue on the organizational environment, the environment of the organization. Uh, the organization and the environment definitely have a very close relationship. They are depending on each other's. Organizations are open to and also dependent on the social and physical environment, right? Again, like what I mentioned earlier, it can be a organization where you have a physical office, which we call physical environment. You have a location, office, people, assets, and so on. Or you might have an online company where there is no physical office, where there is no uh, people, but the peoples are maybe working from home, working remotely. uh, Especially after the pandemic, many companies have closed down their offices, and now they encourage the staff or employees to work from home. So that is more to a social or online environment rather than physical environment. And what happens is organization also can influence the environment. Yeah, so that is also important reason. We know organization and environment are having very close relationship, and due to some reasons or many factors, environment generally change faster than the organization, right? So you might see some organizations are or have been there for many years, doing the same things, practicing the same things. SOP are the same, 10 years old, 15 years old. But due to some factors, like what happened to the whole global recently, uh, the environment change, the demand from the environment change, the requirement from the environment change. Generally, what happens? The organization need to be changed. Maybe many senior guys, I'm not very sure, maybe many senior employees, for example, maybe they have to retire early due to unable to cope with the fast changing in terms of MIS system, or in terms of fast changing of the environment itself. Yeah. So like what is happening to the teaching professions, especially in the government school, I got to know that many teachers are taking early retirement for many reasons. One of the reason is the workload is getting heavier and heavier, and they are having many challenges, many new challenges due to now they need to conduct the classes online, they need to communicate with the students remotely, and they are not going to the school. So some of them they find it is very difficult, especially for the senior teachers or elderly teachers, where they find it very difficult to conduct classes using online mode, because they are very familiar with the face-to-face classes and so on. And so that has actually forced them or let them make decision to retire early, and they have a good reason to retire early. Reason, the pension or the allowance from the government after retirement is still very good, still very good. So it's not a big gap between either they work or they retire. So many of them opt for retirement, early retirement, and they just enjoy with the pension or allowance that they are getting after retirement, which is good enough for them to continue with their life rather than going through all this new environment. So that is just an example of how the pandemic, or in other words, the use of MIS system, especially for the senior citizen. I'm very sure for the younger citizen, it is not a problem at all, because they are very familiar with the children are enjoying it, but maybe not the elder or the senior teachers, where they find it very difficult, very uncomfortable in running those online classes. And just for your information, information system also can be a instrument of environmental scanning. For example, like I have just shared one example for you. The information system is actually one of the key factor for the environment change to many organizations in today's world. That's the reason why we have what we call digital boom, digital platform, social media, and so on. And it is becoming very common or part of the new or modern organization compared to those days. Okay, all right. So that's just to give you some ideas how the environment and organization have a very close relationship. So before we take a short break, let's just take a look at this slide, where you can see on the right hand side the firm is portrayed as a eye, and then you have the environment on the left hand side, and in between the firm and the environment you have the information system. So looks like the eye is doing the scanning to all the environment with the help or assisted by the information system in making or in enabling the company to survive further, to sustain in business. So you need to look at what are the environment resources and constraint, and how information system is assisting or in or the firm, how the firm is making use of this information system in continuing, in sustaining the business moving forward. Okay, so with that, before we go to the next topic, let me take a look at the meeting again, and we take a short break, 10 minutes break, and then I will get back to all of you 10 minutes from now. Okay, if there is any question, please put it up in the chat box, or you can highlight once we are back from the meeting, from the break. Thank you.